Hey guys, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm. I'm in my old filming location. This is my old bedroom in my parents' house, which is really not where I thought I'd be right now. But not gonna get into it, just I'm home for a bit. I wanted to bring you a video because I read some pretty amazing books last month and also some really shit ones. So I'm gonna start with a book that was my least favourite last month. I gave, just because I had to give it a star to review it on Goodreads. Next Year in Havana by Cleeton. I just want to throw up in my mouth thinking of this book. It's very different from what I expected it to be. It was a Reese Witherspoon Book of the Month pick, and I obviously knew it was a romance, which is not my cup of tea, but I didn't know just how insta-lovey it would be, and I can't do insta-love. So let me first tell you what it's about. It's told from two alternating timelines. There's this girl called Alyssa and another one called Marisol, but now Alyssa is Marisol's grandma, but it's told from when Alyssa's young, and then in the 1950s, and then it goes to 2017 where Marisol goes to spread her grandmother's ashes. And Alyssa grew up in Cuba, and it's a very political and atmospheric and educational in many ways, because I didn't know much about, the revolution and just how heartbreaking Cuban history is and still is today. It's horrific the way that these people have to live. So honestly, that is the only thing that gave this book a star for me, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person that would say, oh yeah, I actually gave this book scraped in with a star because of politics. What? I'm the least political person you'll ever meet. I have no idea what's going on in the world right now, because I just maybe I'm ignorant, I don't know, I'm not a political person at all. But I found it very interesting because I never listened in school, so I didn't know anything about it. So it was all about the rebellion against Batista and when Fidel came into power and the effects he had, and that was good. Oh, there's my cat. Hello. Indy. She's outside the window. Now she wants to get in. I wonder if I should. Come on in. So, but when Marisol goes to spread her grandmother's ashes back in Cuba, because basically this family had to flee Cuba and start fresh in America when basically they were in a lot of danger and had to restart life. And she goes to Cuba for the first time to spread her grandmother's ashes, and she spends literally 1 week with this guy who is connected to her grandmother in some ways. They were his mum was her best friend or whatever back in the day, and in that 1 week they fall hopelessly in love with each other. The sexual tension and friction is just, it's like sugar sweet, and by the end of this 1 week, 7 days, this guy's grandmother's talking about their future children. I'm like, what? No, it's just far too much, and the writing was mediocre at best. It was filled with cliches and just... I did, however, read some good books, so I think I chose 3 to talk about, and I'll do it quite quickly. But I read Stay Sexy Don't Get Murdered by Georgia Hardstark and Karen Kilgariff, and they are the hosts of the My Favourite Murder podcast, which I absolutely love. True crime is my jam, so I read that. I don't have a physical copy of it because my copy is on my doorstep in Australia, and I'm in South Africa. But it was fantastic. It's like a dual memoir between these two women, and it's given me, as an avid listener of the podcast, I knew snippets of their lives and little bits and pieces of their history, but that book has given me a newfound appreciation and respect for them in so many ways. They talk about their childhoods, their past addictions, from, you know, eating disorders, drugs, alcoholism. They talk about their near brushes with murders and death and rape. They talk about mental illness and, you know, therapy and stuff. And honestly, I would rather pay Karen and Georgia triple what I would pay a normal therapist just to have them, like, in my life, because they are the best therapy that you could ever need. It's a fantastic book. It's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's everything all rolled into one, and it's just fantastic. I then read another memoir, which is by an Australian girl called Rosie, Waterland, and her book's called The Anti-Cool Girl. And I wasn't really sure what to expect from this book. It's another podcast thing. Like, she's got this podcast called My Mum Thinks My Memoir's a Lie, and it's so funny. It's this mother-daughter duo, and the daughter is reading her book chapter by chapter, and the mum is giving her take on it and saying, well, no, that's actually not true, that didn't happen. So it's really funny because she had a really, really rough childhood and life. So it's heartbreaking and devastating, but this girl, Rosie, she is so funny. She has no shame. She just lets it all out, no filter. It is hilarious. And I absolutely loved it. So I haven't seen this part of her yet. Like, I haven't seen it, but she used to comment on The Bachelor, the TV show, which I love. So obviously, I mean, she's like my soul sister already because I love The Bachelor. It's my guilty pleasure. But apparently that's something about how she became a bit more well-known in Australia. But, you know, she grew up in a house full of addiction, violence, you know, horrible sexual abuse stories and suicide and just mental health galore. And again, another memoir. It was absolutely fabulous. She's got this really witty, dry sense of humour that I can't get enough of. So I've already got her other book downloaded on Audible called Every Lie I Ever Told. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm still going through the podcast too. So you kind of read the book again because she reads it to you, and then you get the mom's take on it. So that's really interesting if you've got the time to do that kind of, you know, book and a podcast and everything, because I think that's kind of cool. It gives it something a bit unique, doesn't it? Then I finished Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding, the very first book, and I don't know what took me so long to read this, guys. It is hilarious. I don't know if it's because of the dry British humour, or, you know, Bridget's like my soul sister too. She's so funny. She is counting her calories like obsessively because she's trying to lose weight. She doesn't want a man, but she can't quite help herself. And a lot of people have problems with it because of the fact that it's like Bridget can't get by without a man, and it is kind of body shaming towards chunkier people. But it is actually, it's so funny, and if you just take it for what it is and stop being so fucking sensitive, it's a funny ass book. And I have already downloaded the second book, and apparently that's even funnier, so I'm looking forward to that. I also read a book called I Know Who You Are by Alice Feeney. This sun is terrible, I hope you guys don't mind it, but it's my only filming location. So Alice Feeney wrote, what was it? Sometimes I Lie. And so this is her new book that's been highly anticipated by many people. And my god, is it weird. I gave it a 4-star review, so not quite 5 stars, but it's about this actress who she's so used to acting as someone else, and you if you see her in the street, you think you might recognise her, but you're not too sure. And one day she gets home from working on set for the day, and she finds that her husband's missing, but his phone, his wallet, car keys, everything's still there. So she's like, And they had this fight the day before, so she's like, oh, he's probably just blowing off some steam. So she doesn't really take it too seriously. But then after some time, he's still not back. So the next day she goes out for a coffee, and her card's declined. And, you know, she's an actress, quite well known, so she is relatively wealthy. And she then goes to the bank to figure out why her card's declining, and it turns out that her bank account was cleared the previous day. So she's like, what? So she tries to figure out, like, she then thinks, my husband, he's run off, he's taken all my money. And then it turns out that apparently she had authorized it the previous day, but she has no memory of doing this. And she reports her husband missing to the police, and then the police are now thinking that it's her that's murdered her husband, and this investigation begins, and it sounds completely fucked, and that's because it is. And the twist, I won't give it away, but it is icky, disgusting, but as gross as it is, it was fantastic. Like, Alice Feeney really didn't shy away from really stepping outside of the box with a twist so disgustingly horrifying that you just had to keep reading regardless. It was amazing. Really, really good book. I think it lacked a star for me because it was very confusing. There were a lot of different things happening, different storylines, and I couldn't quite keep up. So yeah, but I really did like it. And now this month, June, I left all my books in Australia besides a few, but I got back and I'm trying to focus on my own mental health and self-love, happiness. So I decided to finally start Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, which I started the other day, and I'm currently about 80 pages in now. And it's not exactly what I thought. I kind of thought that it would be a lot more about depression and how to handle it, but like how the author does it, like explains it in really funny ways from her personal accounts and stuff. And while it is that, it's also really bizarre and really strange. She's like this taxidermy loving mental nutcase who is absolutely fabulous. She's so funny and so random, and she has these thoughts like, oh god, I've just got to show you, it's so funny. If you put a bunch of chameleons on top of a bunch of chameleons on top of a bowl of Skittles, what would happen? Is that science? Because if so, I finally get why people want to do science. It's just, she thinks of the most strange things and you can't help but laugh. So it's giving me a laugh, which is what I needed. I've been pretty upset lately. So it's funny, but it's also a bit too bonkers at times. Like, so she's got really big anxiety, sleeping disorders, depression, everything that you could have, she's got it. So it's kind of to the extreme, and you feel like Neil Gaiman said, you want to laugh, but then you feel like you're going to be an absolute evil person if you do laugh, so maybe don't read it because you just feel really shit about yourself for laughing at this woman. But she laughs at herself, and it's funny, but it's not quite what I wanted or expected. I was hoping to find something to help me more, if you know what I mean. But anyway, that fucking rooster. Then I am very excited about this next book, The Perfect Wife by J.P. Delaney. I love this author so much, and I literally cannot wait to read this book. It kind of sounds a bit more like technological and sci-fi, but I'm sure it's not. So this woman wakes up and has no idea who she is or how she got to this strange place, and there's this dude sitting beside her who is claiming that he's her husband, and he says to her, well, you had a really bad accident 5 years ago and there was this big technological breakthrough, and so she's been brought back to life and into herself because of this technology thing, and he's like this tech whiz or whatever, and it sounds very odd, and I'm sure he's probably an evil person, but So this woman, Abby, she's like, well, what really happened to me 5 years ago? She's trying to sift through these memories, and you know, it's not really working too well, but she starts to question her husband's motives and whether she can trust him or not, and it sounds fascinating. I think it's going to be quite a fast-paced book, similar to Dark Matter. If you've read this, you're probably laughing at me because it's probably nothing like Dark Matter, but I'm interested. Then I got this book called 6 Minutes by Petronella McGovern, which comes out in July, and it looks pretty awesome. This isn't the real cover, this is like uncorrected proof copy, but Leanne Moriarty, she said, impossible to put down and full of twists and turns you won't see coming. I love this fabulous debut novel. So debut author, I love reading debut novels because you can just tell sometimes that some people were just born to write, and this has been getting a lot of praise, so I'm very excited for it. So I am a bit nervous about this one because it's set in Australia, and at the moment I'm having a bit of a emotional crisis with Australia. I wish I was back there with my partner at the moment, but things aren't fantastic right now. So this book's set in Australia, and it's this group of mums, and they're in this playground area, and one mum goes dashing off to the shops quickly to get some biscuits and leaves her daughter with her group of other mum friends, and when she comes back 6 minutes later, just 6 minutes, her daughter's gone and no one knows where she is. So then obviously this investigation starts, and this whole online hate and just horrible people start targeting this mum and just making her feel so devastated and shit for leaving her daughter alone. And there's a theory that the daughter's disappearance might have something to do with these angry protests by the Parliament House, but then there's other things too, that it's like there's this school teacher who has a photo of this little girl in his living room, which is very odd, and why would he have that? So could he be involved? And then what about these other parents? Are they hiding something? What's going on? So it sounds really good. I'm just worried it's going to be a bit too Australian for me and make me burst out crying, because, guys, I burst out crying on the plane on the way to South Africa within the first 10 seconds of watching Mary Poppins. That's how upset I am. Mary fucking Poppins. Then my dad took me shopping for some toiletries, like face cream and stuff, and I just burst out crying in the middle of the grocery shop, and he was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "It's just not the same." So I'm feeling pretty sorry for myself, but I decided to film a video today, still in my pajamas, but I did put a face on and try smile, because I really want to look at life differently. I need to be positive and proactive and happy, and I'm reading books about self-help. Another book I want to read this month is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So I'm really interested to just put my big girl panties on, as my friend Lexi says, and just keep going and hope and pray that life is going to work out for me and I'll be back in Australia soon. It's what I need, it's what I want. It's where my life and my love is. So yeah, I'm really focusing on it. I started doing meditation, I'm doing park runs. Unfortunately, this weather at the moment is not very nice for running, so that's why I'm still cozied up. But yeah, I'm hoping to just focus on health and happiness, and obviously I can't say no to a good thriller novel, so got some thrillers but also some selfie-helpy books and spiritual stuff, and lots of tea because I love tea, and that's about it. Let me know what you're reading in the comments below, and sorry this video probably isn't fantastically filmed or edited, but I just wanted to do something. Filming videos and booktube is something that makes me feel like me, and that's what I've been missing a lot of. I need to get back into writing too, and doing something crafty, like go to a pottery class and get back into yoga, because believe me, I am not as supple and limber as I once used to be. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna go now and read this book and probably laugh my ass off. Later I'm gonna pour a nice lovely glass of red wine, light the fire, and I should show you though, just before we go, that the house is a pigsty, by the way, sorry, but I have been keeping myself busy with a puzzle. It's a 1,000 piece puzzle, and that's what it's gonna look like at the end, and this is about 5 days in, so it's torture and it's really annoying, and I don't know why I decided I wanted to do a puzzle, but I'm doing it, and it's fun, and it's keeping my mind occupied, and I can like listen to an audiobook or a podcast while I'm doing puzzles, so it keeps me busy and out of my own head when I need to not be thinking about the shit stuff. And now it's really cold, so I'm going to close my window because my cat didn't come and give me a cuddle. See you soon, guys. Bye.